This video is to discuss slope-intercept form. This is something that we've been doing in class for the past couple weeks, but these are formal notes on it. So what is slope-intercept form? Well, it's a linear equation where we can pick out the slope of a line as well as the y-intercept. So remember from previous classes that the slope of a line is the ratio of vertical change to the horizontal change, or we say change in y over change in x. A y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. We also call this our starting point when we're graphing. Slope-intercept form is a formula for the equation of a linear function using its slope and its y-intercept. It often says y equals mx plus b. We talked about how the number that's in front of the x, which is considered the coefficient of x in this equation is where you put your slope. Then whatever your y-intercept is what you add or subtract. If your y-intercept is positive, you're going to add. If your y-intercept is negative, you're going to subtract. The steps for graphing, again, we've already gone over this, but let's say we wanted to graph the line y equals negative 3x plus 2. First, we're going to start by placing a point at the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is the constant term, the number that you are adding. So we are adding 2, so I'm going to, I'll do it in red since it matches our steps here. So that's not positive 2. Step 1, positive 2. Start at positive 2. Then from that point, we're going to count. So from this point, we're going to count the direction of slope. Now when you do slope, you want a vertical change over horizontal change. So in this case, we don't see the two numbers, so we have to remember that any whole number has a denominator of 1. So we're going to have a vertical change of negative 3, so that means we're going to go down negative 3 and over positive 1. So I always go to the right. So from this point here, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1. And I can do it again, 1, 2, 3, over 1. You can really do it as many times as you want to. You could even backtrack 1, 2, 3 over 1 this way. Okay. We want to make sure that our direction is correct though. So since the slope is negative, I should be making a line that's going down. Well, going left to right, this line is obviously going down. And so now we're going to draw our line. I am horrible with drawing lines on the mouse, so I'm going to try to get my double arrow here, yeah. And then, there you go, close enough, okay? All right, so that is how we were to graph this slope-intercept form. Again, this is something that you've already done in class. You're just taking formal notes on it. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and practice this. So the first two, you're writing an equation for each line in intercept form, and then we're gonna graph each line here. So pause the video, take a moment to try it, and then when you're ready to check it, go ahead and hit play. Okay, so let's find the equation for this. So the first thing we're gonna do is find our slope. So I'm gonna draw my slope triangle here. I see that my vertical change is gonna be a negative 2. We know it's negative because this line is going down, so the vertical change is negative. And my horizontal change is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So using that slope triangle, I know that I'm going to have y equals negative 1 over 3x. Remember, it's change in y over change in x. So negative 2 over 6 is going to reduce to negative 1/3. And where does this line cross the y-intercept? It crosses it at negative 1. So our full equation is going to be y equals negative 1/3 minus 1. So that is the equation of this line. And you can put negative 1 over 3. It's just harder to type on the computer with that. So if we look at the next one, so I'm going to draw my slope triangle again. Not so good with the mouse. Okay. So what is our horizontal change is 1. That's easy. And our vertical change is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So positive 6. We know it's positive vertical change because this line is going up. And so if we look at our y-intercept is right here, which is at negative 1, 2, 3, so negative 3. So we have y equals Our slope is change in y over change in x, so that would be 6 over 1, which reduces to 6. That goes in front of x. And then minus 3, because 3 is our y-intercept. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and graph these lines, and then pause the video, graph the lines, and then check back. Okay, so if we're given the equation of the line, we know that this is positive 4, so I'm going to go up to 4. And then my slope is in front of this x, which really, even though we don't see it, we can put a 1 here. And we're actually going to put it over 1 because I want 2 directions. I want a vertical direction and a horizontal direction. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1 to get to my next point. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. Make enough points where you can do the line, and then there's our line. Okay, we are going to talk about how to solve or how to graph lines that are not in y equals mx plus b, but let's go ahead and try this one for now. So if I wanted to solve for y, in other words, this is not in y equals mx plus b, the plus 1's in the way. So treat it like you are solving an equation, and that becomes y. To cancel this out, we're going to subtract 1. So y equals 1/4 x minus 1. Now we can graph. We know that our y-intercept is -1, so I can start here. Again, it's -1 because we have to move it to the other side, so we just subtract 1. From there, our slope is positive 1/4, so I'm going to go up 1 over 1. So from here, I'm going to go up 1, up 1 over 4. Up 1 over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? If I wanted another point, I could backtrack and go down 1 and to the left 4, making sure that it's a line. Like I couldn't go this direction because then that would be a B. So I need to go this way. And then we have our line. So at this point in the notes, this is really all you need to know, okay? There are special cases here. What makes these special cases? Well, this doesn't have, it looks like it doesn't have a y-intercept, but that's because your y-intercept is 0. So this line passes through the origin because it goes through 0, 0. And so it looks like it doesn't have a y-intercept, but it actually does. It's going through the origin. This one doesn't have an x, which means it doesn't have a slope. Well, it does have a slope, but the slope is 0, making this a horizontal line. Okay? And we will work more with the horizontal lines and vertical lines later on in the quarter and beginning of second quarter. So for right now, you definitely just need to know slope-intercept form, how to look at a graph and write the slope-intercept form, and then how to graph your equation that's in slope-intercept form. So I wouldn't give this to you on a test yet. I would go ahead and let it solve for y. Eventually, we'll get to a point where you're going to be able to change it so it's in slope-intercept form. So after these video notes, what you need to do is go online to the textbook, and you have an assignment waiting for you there. It is a graded assignment. And then after you're done with that graded assignment, you have another activity to do.